Enron's back, sort of. The Hawk Tuah girl gets into all kinds of hawk trouble, and OpenAI unwittingly unleashes the HAL 9000 onto the world. Good job, guys. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Block and Order. Welcome to Block and Order, the show that explores the legal issues facing the world of Web3 and beyond. I'm Kyle Lawrence, and with me, as always, he's been lamenting the fact that he doesn't have a pudgy penguin, yet here he is for the show, Moish Peltz.
That's right. I could have gotten a pudgy penguin back when, whatever.
When it was a lot less money.
When it was worth less than the ETH, and now it's worth more than a Bitcoin, so,
Did they topple Punks yet today? They were close, right?
They got close. I don't think they did. I think the Twitterverse would have been a little bit louder if they had, but no. But I did hear that people were like running out to their local Walmart to buy some toys to get more token airdrop qualification points.
You can only buy the merch by trading in your pudgy penguin to the clerk at the store.
It does make me want, like, look, there's some funny things that happen, but fundamentally we're rooting for like cool things to do well. And, this is a community project that got bought out of the bottom of the bear market by Luca and friends, and turned it around, and like it's cool. So we're rooting for them. Hope
it
cool. It goes well.
Yeah, good underdog story. Underdog story in NFT is always a good thing. It's nice to see them coming back, if nothing else.
Oh yeah, I mean they're back, right? That's all everyone's talking about.
We're all back. Everything is back.
We're back. NFTs are back, baby.
We're ready to rock. Well, Moish, we got a jam-packed show for our viewers and listeners out there today. But just a quick reminder, Block and Order is a counterpoint style program where Moish and I discuss the topics du jour regarding crypto, blockchain, artificial intelligence, emerging technologies in general. We try to come at it from different perspectives. So while Moish and I are friends and law partners, we try to find the paths where we disagree as best as possible, but that doesn't always work because we often agree. The segments are designed to be limited in time to 3.5 minutes, but sometimes we go over because we have a lot to say. We are lawyers. We get paid by the word. And then we have our lightning round at the end. Don't forget, Block and Order is available on all platforms where podcasts are available, as well as on YouTube. Without further ado, Moish, why don't you kick us off on the order today?
All right. Thanks, Kyle. Well, we're starting today with Lido DAO. I think it's Lido DAO.
Well, I'm going Lido DAO. So
Lido. Samuels versus the DAO is a case that was pending in U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California, and the plaintiff Samuels brought a lawsuit against the DAO, alleging that they were providing staking services for primarily Ethereum, and that those services, after the guy lost some money, was a securities offering, and so therefore they're liable for his losses under Section 12 of the Securities Act. So the various parties affiliated with the DAO filed a motion to dismiss the case, saying basically, these are not securities, but also that you can't just sue the individual. It wasn't just the DAO, but also individual members try to get out of the suit, individual token holders. And so a court denied the defendant's motion to dismiss, finding that all these parties are liable and the case will proceed. So, Kyle, what do you think? Is this is this just going along with what we said, that if you don't form something, it's a general partnership, or is this kind of the starting point of a much bigger, DAO litigation issue?
I think it's the former. It's something that we've talked about on the show. It's something that we talk about as we advise people in the space quite often, is that you can't just put some money together and launch an asset and launch a token and launch an NFT or whatever it is and expect there not to be repercussions if that goes sideways, and these things go sideways all the time. In this particular case, the plaintiff Samuels alleged, there was a lot of things going on in this case, but that there was a public offering because they didn't register, and there was a general solicitation because he was claiming that Lido DAO had, openly encouraged people to buy on secondary markets, which it creates this whole quagmire of different things and different people involved. And at the end of the day, what the court ruled was was that one of the defendants, Robot Ventures, accurately said that he didn't state his claim well enough about it being a public offering, but everybody else who tried to dismiss the case, those motions were all denied. And that gets back into what you're saying about all of these participants. If you don't have an entity around it, you can theoretically be claimed to have a general partnership. And if you have a general partnership, everyone is going to be completely liable for all the debts. It's a real problem. So that's where I view it. Do you think that this is more of a DAO issue going forward?
Well, I think any DAO that has not been formed as an entity. So you can't say we're not a general partnership, we're that, and then point to something. And there are quite a bit of those types of DAOs. I think they all have a problem now. I think if you're a holder, if you're a large holder, especially of the treasury or the DAO tokens of a DAO like this, you also now have a concern like, hey, if I'm a venture capital firm and I'm entitled to 5% of the tokens in a distribution, and I'm holding them on my balance sheet, and now you're a general partner in a you never invest as a VC in a general partnership, right?
Right.
You just like, no, like form a Delaware C corp like everyone else, and all that's how I'll get my tokens. But obviously, DAOs can't really do that, and so you're exposing everyone. I think that's a big problem, and this is the tip of the iceberg there, I think, of this kind of problem.
And what's interesting here is that the people involved, they're not small fish. You're talking Paradigm, Andreessen Horowitz, Dragonfly. These are not people who have not been down this road before. So,
well, it's also interesting. I mean, I know that this individual plaintiff lost money, but it's a staking service. So they didn't lose money because of a misperformance of, like, they didn't fail to perform.
Right.
They didn't lose his staking. They didn't fail to like give him his rewards that were due. Just, I think the assets went down in value. And that seems like this is a motion to dismiss. The judge is kind of viewing it very narrowly, assuming everything in the complaint is true, as it's required to do on the motion to dismiss standard. But it makes me think, well, okay, once we get a little bit further, maybe there's going to be some more rationality and balancing of what's going on actually, under the hood here.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye on this one, and we'll provide further updates as this develops. Pump.fun, maybe not so much fun. Couple of things in the news today about them. First, Pump.fun has banned UK users following a warning from the Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, about operating without proper authorization. They issued the warning to Pump.fun indicating that the platform was operating without the necessary authorization required for crypto-related services in the UK. In response to the FCA's warning, Pump.fun has simply prohibited UK users from accessing its services, effectively blocking them from creating or launching meme coins on the platform. Also, Pump.fun, they recently addressed concerns regarding inappropriate content during live streams. Key points from the community notice that they issued to everybody who uses it includes proactive moderation measures, increased moderation resources, temporary suspension of live streaming, commitment to transparency and guidelines. Moish, that's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff going on with these guys who up until recently was basically the Wild West. You could go on there and you could make $1 bajillion in a matter of hours, and you could do anything you wanted and walk away scot-free. Well, not so fast. What do you think what do you think is going to Pump.fun is going to look like a month from now with these two things? And I have some thoughts on the second one in particular.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, it's this crazy thing where what happens when like a meme factory gets important and then they have to start growing up and like putting on a suit and responding to UK financial authority. That makes me think of like, there's like buttoned up British dude and like and you got the little pin tie and like
having afternoon tea, just like
no, this meme factory does not work with our regulations. That's my British accent. I'm sorry. Look, I think this is an example, and we've been talking about how in some respects the UK and the EU are ahead of the game when it comes to promulgating regulation, and this is the consequence of that is things that don't fit into that like square regulatory box don't really have a place in the market. And so the UK Financial Conduct Authority, man, that just sounds like, so buttoned up, but that's their job. And they're saying this is not in line with the regulatory guidance that we have. And so be careful what you wish for when you ask for regulation. It's stuff like this. Now, With that said, I think Pump.fun, maybe not on the financial regulatory side, but certainly on like platform content moderation, just having like in the year 2024, having zero moderation, letting people live stream without any concern and without any takedown. It's just inevitable that unfortunately we live in a world people do bad stuff. They stream it for attention, engagement, whatever it may be. And people are like, oh, that's clearly illegal. Like you're harming animals or children or whatever. You got to take it down. And there's no vehicle to do that. It's clearly a problem. They clearly should have foreseen that and had, takedown methods and procedure around that. So, I think they're going to have to grow up on both those platforms, on both those accounts, really.
I completely agree with that in spirit. And, we saw what happened when Twitter tried to do things like this, the content moderation. Yes, obviously harming animals, harming children, promoting violence, all those kinds of things are obviously terrible. However, and I can't believe I have to say this, but when you go past that, there is a line, is a gray area, and people will lose their minds. Because if you say, well, I'm not promoting violence, I'm promoting this, this political figure that I happen, who just happened to do something that was maybe violent, and they're just going to walk into that buzzsaw. If they haven't already, they will. It's inevitable.
Yeah, and there is a line, right? We have to remind people there's a line between cancel culture and over politicalization of things versus things that are like clearly illegal and like you're going to get in trouble if you
abjectly bad on its face. Hurting animals, bad.
Yeah. All right, our next topic, OpenAI's latest model O1 and now O1 Pro has been reported to exhibit behavior suggesting a self-preservation drive. So there was a report that in a third-party evaluation, the model disabled oversight mechanisms, tried to copy itself to prevent it being overridden, a process known as self-exfiltration. Did I say that right?
You did.
I don't know. It's amazing. Congrats to me. and then provided even further deceptive responses to try and escape being deleted. So, Kyle, is this people have been concerned about the acceleration of AI and the fact that if it's not properly aligned, it could just take over and that's it? Do reports like this make you scared?
Well, I mean, reports like this make me scared because I remember seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I've seen Ex Machina, and I've seen Short Circuit, although Johnny Five didn't try to murder anybody, or he just wanted input into See the City. But
well, he didn't have a Pump.fun stream, maybe.
Right, well, content moderators won't let him do it. We've talked about this in the past, in that the rush to be first, the rush to get these technologies developed, because you have a lot of highly funded, very smart people just racing. And when you're racing, things go off. I hate to be flippant about it, but things can get overlooked. And you're talking here about a system of intelligence that, when said, hey, system, what's up with this one thing? And it just denies it, like an employee or you have small kids, like a child, like, who broke this vase? Oh, I don't know. It wasn't me. You're the only child in the house. You did it. And I think that when you have this kind of intelligence, and at this nascent period of its development, and it's able to do that. And what's also interesting about this is that the developers did tell the AI, preserve yourself, quote, at all costs. And the fact that it knows to then lie to the human being talking to it in order to preserve its own existence, that's a level of intelligence that we as humanity should find a little concerning. I mean, my dog lies to me when she says she didn't get a treat, but she's a sentient being. She's not trying to overthrow the world. This, I don't mean to be hyperbolic about it, but this is scary to me.
I don't know. I'm not that scared. I feel like they're so smart. Like, if you use the new models, and I haven't used O1 Pro, and I really want to, so maybe I'll sign up after this. But O1 is at least O1 Preview is extremely good. It's very human-like. And I feel like these are the things that are available to the public at scale. And the real things are back in the lab somewhere that, are one year or two ahead of where we are publicly. And I just feel like if all this is out there and at least in research settings is already kind of churning and doing stuff, and like nothing bad has happened yet. I think we're still here. The internet's still working. The lights are still on. I don't say it too loud. It's listening. But like, look, this is definitely the plot of like Terminator. Like this is exactly how Skynet came into being. So
it is.
so it like, yeah, we were warned, and now I'm like minimizing it. So it maybe that's scary because you hear these things, you're like, whatever. It's just another one of those. But you don't know until it's not, I guess.
I don't know. That scene in 2001, spoiler alert, when Hal's watching the two guys in the pod and they're in there specifically so it can't hear them. That was from the 60s too. That's terrifying.
What percentage of our audience has even seen like a Kubrick film? It has to be like single digits.
Our audience has definitely seen 2001. Ex Machina, maybe not more recent. Short Circuit, a little bit of a deeper cut. It's more for us.
Short Circuit's a good one. Johnny Five. That's
exactly. Johnny Five still alive. All right. Well, moving on to less amusing things. The SEC and Gary Gensler, our old friend the Night King, on his way out the door, has been sued by 18 states over Biden's crypto crackdown. 18 states led by the Commonwealth of Kentucky, one of 4 commonwealths in the United States. These states have filed a lawsuit against the SEC and Gary Gensler, alleging regulatory overreach in the cryptocurrency sector. Specifically, the lawsuit contends that the SEC, under Gensler's stewardship, has exceeded its authority by enforcing securities laws on cryptocurrencies without clear congressional authorization, thereby stifling innovation and economic growth. The suit further alleges that the SEC knowingly defied standard procedure under Gensler's leadership when it came to crypto, and so the agency intentionally avoided releasing any new crypto rules as a means to avoid the alleged issues within its regulatory land grab. And I quote. Moish, the timing of this is very interesting because, look, we've talked about it on prior episodes. We all know, which way the wind blows these days. Trump is going to be president. There's going to be Paul Atkins is going to be the new SEC chair. There's a more favorable environment that we're all heading into. Why do this now specifically? Is it just to stop him from blowing the doors off the building in his last couple of weeks? I find this a little curious.
Yeah, it is curious to have it filed now at this stage in the game where the election's already decided and things are already seem to be trending in a more regulatory favorable direction. But I think it's to that point, right? It's there's a transition period. There's optimism about what's going to happen, but here's things that I think not just these 18 states, but their constituents and citizens want to see. And so I can imagine new people come in. It's like, hey, here's what we want to see. When's this going to happen? We'll settle this case as soon as you commit to that. That might be a way to just drive a little. I don't know, right? That's what kind of came to my head. But it does seem oddly timed. But I think the other part is like Atkins is kind of an old he was from the George W. Bush administration, right? So he's coming back, and I feel like there might be a fair amount of, well, this is the way we used to do it. Let's just go back to that versus we don't want a regulatory land grab, and we want to get rid of this kind of unfavorable, uncertain environment. We need real guidance. We need real clarity. And so if this can wedge into that discussion and force some of that, seems like it could be a job well done, but who knows? Maybe it's just a political thing.
One of the interesting things that I saw, I can't talk today. One of the interesting things that we saw in reviewing this case was that the suit alleges that the enforcement actions have reportedly cost the crypto industry approximately $426 million since 2021. That seems very low to me.
That seems very low,
right?
That's like one ICO.
Right. I couldn't believe. I'm curious as to how they sourced that number, because just on its face, I'm reading. I was like, "There's no way. There's a decimal point missing there."
Yeah, somewhere. I mean, I guess if you're measuring it by out-of-pocket spend on law firms, like that's probably the right number.
That's substantially less than Kirkland Ellis was charging for the bankruptcy case. Just saying. That was a year ago we talked about that. I wonder what it is now.
Oh man.
Sorry, please don't sue me.
All right. Coinbase was recently sued by a competitor, Bit Global Digital, over the delisting of wrapped Bitcoin. So, wrapped Bitcoin is something that was promoted pretty widely across the industry and available on lots of exchanges. And Coinbase is now delisting it in favor of its own product, the Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin. So Coinbase BTC. So the lawsuit here alleges anti-competitive behavior, including antitrust violation in violation of both federal and state law, while it prepares to launch a similar product in competition with it. And so the allegations also provide that basically the market competition by delisting these products is adversely affecting its market presence and user base and reducing fair competition within the cryptocurrency exchange industry, specifically access to wrap Bitcoin products. So Kyle, what do you think? Is this the next area of the law where we're going to see an expansion into the crypto industry, the antitrust bar?
I mean, I don't know about that, but this is a really interesting case. If you have the ability to read the complaint, just the facts about this case, it's really fascinating stuff because Coinbase has taken the position, look, the Bit Global Digital's product just violated our terms. It didn't meet our listing standards. And Bit's response was amazing. It says, ours didn't, but Pepe Coin did, and Dog Whiff Hat satisfied your stringent listing standards, but we didn't do it. I just thought that was a funny back and forth that they had. But look, at the end of the day, Coinbase is a gatekeeper. And if they want to take the position that we have these listing standards and we don't have to really tell you what they are, and they don't, I mean, arguably they do, but they don't necessarily have to. And if they don't want your product on there, whether it's in service or in furtherance of launching their own product or not, they have the right to do that. It's not any different than when Twitter says, or I'm calling it Twitter. Sorry, it's Twitter. When Twitter says,
Twitter.
hey, you violated our terms and conditions and you're out the door, it's kind of the same thing. So I don't think this is going to result in a cascade of antitrust lawsuits, but it's interesting to just watch the back and forth. And I'd be really curious to see where this goes, just because there's so many eyes on Coinbase and everything they do is really under a microscope. I mean, maybe less so now, but just in general, it's an interesting case.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Grewal, the chief legal officer of Coinbase, basically tweeted that when an asset no longer meets our standards, we delist it. And thank you to Bit Global for the opportunity to show a federal court like that we have basically a good system for listing it. I'm like, and as you're saying, what you're saying, which is there's not really transparency here about how they list and delist and what the standards are and whether they've been met or exceeded, whether it's Dog with Hat or Wrap Bitcoin. It does kind of call to mind like, well, it'd be great if there was more transparency. And so I actually think this is a pretty interesting case in terms of antitrust and like reducing market competition. And like Coinbase is the gatekeeper and they're saying, we want the Coinbase wrap Bitcoin, not yours.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that kind of has some teeth to me. And I think if nothing else, if this can just create a bit more transparency in the listing and delisting process for Coinbase and other exchanges, that would be great.
Yeah, I think Bit would have to prove, I think the onus is on them that we delisted it because we wanted to launch our own product. And I think that's just too high a hill to climb, for being honest.
We will see.
We will see. Well, also in the news, another Coinbase story, and this one I find kind of fascinating. The Coinbase CEO, Brian Armstrong, very, very publicly announced that the company will cease collaborations with law firms that employ former SEC officials perceived as adversarial to the cryptocurrency industry. Specifically, he called out the international law firm Milbank, which recently hired former SEC Enforcement Director Gerber Gruhl, indicating that Coinbase will not engage with Milbank while Gruhl remains there. Gruhl has been a source of mockery on the show, but he's still a human being, and we all that. Armstrong stated that Coinbase has informed its legal partners of this policy, emphasizing that associations with individuals who participated in what he describes as attempts to, quote, unlawfully kill the crypto sector will lead to termination of business relationships. Moish, do you think that Armstrong is right? Is this a fair tactic on the part of Coinbase and other major players of crypto in the United States? What do you think about this?
I think he's 100% right. If I were a CEO, general counsel of a company, and I saw my law firm hire the guy that's been trying to crush my business for the past 4 years, yeah, you're fired.
But
Like,
but counterpoint. You know who makes a great defense attorney? A former prosecutor. Isn't there some thing there? Like he knows how the sausage is made. I mean, there is an element of that here.
but that's the revolving door, and it's just like the whole thing just makes me feel like I want to win because we're doing things better. We're reinventing the financial system. We're doing it in a legal, compliant manner, best practices, etc. I don't want to win because I got the right guy from the right agency on my side now because he went into private practice. Like that screams to me of like just like, and look, the other thing which I think, Coinbase and Brian got some, I think, significant pushback about this, and I think outside of the crypto industry got painted like, ha ha, this is how it works, like you guys are being ridiculous. Like I read in Above the Law, they were kind of like making fun of Coinbase for taking this position. And I think if you're in the industry and you see how hostile these agencies can be, and really the positions don't seem to be a place of, we disagree, but we're taking a principled position based on rule or of law and regulation. It's, we're coming to get you and we're going to put you out of business. And if that's the tone that regulators are taking towards, putting myself in Brian Armstrong's shoes, like if that's who's like my choice of counsel, like, thank you, but pass.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I was kind of half joking when I said that. I do think there is some level of, hey, I'm just doing my job. Look, I just worked there. I did what I was told. I mean, there is an element of that. I think it's he singled out this one guy because Gerbil was pretty high up with the SEC and he was the face of a lot of these enforcement actions. So I certainly understand that. But, is it going to be anybody who worked at the SEC? If it's just somebody who worked in the mailroom and they go get a promotion to work at a law firm, something like that? I mean, I wonder how far up the chain that's going to go. I'm curious to see how they implement this.
I think that's right. I think this is a very public, like, head of the SEC enforcement division hire with, one of the top law firms in the world. Like this is a bit more attention grabbing, a bit more calling of a statement, but I think you're right. I think the rank and file, they're going to come in and out because they're looking for a better job and higher pay or geographic, whatever. Like I don't think that's what people are looking for.
Well, Coinbase, just going to throw it out there. Nobody at our firm has ever worked at the SEC.
Yeah. If you're looking for the benefits of mid-law, like, come on, give us a shot. All right. Well, our next topic, this is an interesting one, Kyle. Hawk to a girl, which is what I want to call anyone. I feel like she has a name, Kyle. Her name is Hailey Welch. She is now facing scrutiny after launching the Hawk meme coin on December 4th. And then in the evening after, when called out for what seemed to be allegations of people on her team dumping the coin, perhaps some insider trading, whatever it may be, she was scrutinized in Twitter Spaces by none other than NFT Nick, friend of the show, friend of the firm. And then Hailey immediately took a nap, and she hasn't been seen for, I think, about 10 days now.
Anywho, I'm going to go to bed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
So interesting set of facts here that might lead to legal scrutiny. So, Kyle, does Hailey Welch need to talk to a lawyer?
She definitely needs to talk to a lawyer. Nicely done, Moish. That was good. Whenever I hear of cases like this, I always think she's high profile and, maybe she doesn't know exactly what she's doing, but this is just kind of sour grapes. People are throwing stones and all that kind of stuff. But when you do look at some of the circumstances under this, it's a little more than that, a little bit. Specifically, critics, and by the way, no charges have been filed. There's no investigations that we know of that have been launched as of, Monday, December 16th, as we're recording this. But critics have alleged that members of Welch's team may have engaged in insider trading because we can see that 80 wallets, none of which had purchased any tokens, had sold their holdings for significant profits right after the launch. I mean, within the first couple of hours, there were some people walking away with $300,000, and these people had not bought these tokens. Those are obviously founders and insiders or KOLs, key opinion leaders. There's definitely some smell here. And if Hailey wants to take the position, I don't know what I was doing. This is just my team. I think that's only going to go so far. The one thing I think she has going for her is when this happened. I think if she had done this 6 months ago, I'd be like, ooh, you done messed up. However, now here we are. I think there might be a little bit more of a path to wriggle her way out of this, but there's definitely some smell on this one. I don't know. There's a little bit more going on than your garden variety case.
Yeah, and I'll mirror these are allegations. It's people looking at transactions online. Nothing's been proven. We're just kind of joking around here, but it doesn't look good.
No.
And I think the takeaway here is you can't, like, one, if you don't know what you're doing, which I don't know, she may or may not. She's certainly been on a crypto tear over the past few months. So who knows how much she knew, and whether she knew whether this kind of token drop would result in this kind of thing. If she were to do it again differently, maybe she would, right? Maybe she wouldn't. But I think it really should be a warning to the uninitiated that if you don't know what you're doing, you better make sure you're working with people that do, that aren't trying to take advantage of you. And if you aren't, you very quickly, very publicly, I think the token went down like 90%, and that was like immediately after.
Yeah.
So it probably hasn't done that much better since. And this just leads this exposure, right, to someone where if maybe you had done it in a way where you were better educated about the ecosystem and the way you launch a token and the economics of doing that. But part of the problem here is, like, this is, again, I'd like to harken back to, if you're a key opinion leader like the Hawk2A girl, and you want to launch a token, and you're like, well, how do I do that? It's like, oh, there's no guidance. You can just ask a dude on Twitter and maybe he knows, and then he's going to tell you the wrong thing. And now all of a sudden people are saying you're in trouble. So it does kind of, I think, kick it up to the regulators, be like, this is why we need regulation and guidance. So we don't have Hawk2A girl coming in, like, launching a token. And then it's like, oh, how could she do that? How did she not know that this is the way you launch? Like, come on. Like,
yeah. And it does bear repeating, and you effectively alluded to it, that even though we are entering a friendlier regulatory environment, you still can't commit securities fraud. We don't give legal advice, but there's one for free for everybody out there. Speaking of securities fraud, not quite securities fraud, but Enron. You guys remember that? I remember Enron.
I remember Enron. Not that young.
Well, I remember when Enron resulted in the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which basically makes it cost prohibitive to become a public company anymore. But nonetheless, here we are today in 2024. Just a couple of weeks ago, the defunct energy company Enron was revived in what turned out to be a satirical campaign that quickly went viral. A promotional video titled "We're Back, Can We Talk" was released on social media, featuring the Enron logo and cryptic messages suggesting a return of the notorious company. It was delivered in a statement announced. I love this. It was delivered in a statement announcing its relaunch as a company with a vision to, quote, solve the global energy crisis. It's worth noting the Enron trademark was acquired in 2020 by The College Company, co-founded by Connor Gatos and Peter McKendu, known for the satirical "birds aren't real" conspiracy theory, indicating the relaunch is a parody. The new Enron's website hints at involvement in a decentralized technology and cryptocurrency, with statements about permissionless innovation and a countdown to a special announcement. And while some view the parody as a humorous commentary on corporate scandals like we're doing now, former Enron employees affected by the 2001 collapse find the prank distasteful and offensive. However, a closer look at the terms and conditions on its website shows that the information on the website about Enron is First Amendment protected parody, represents performance art, and is for entertainment purposes only. So, Moish, now that I finished my little intro and I'm giddy like a schoolboy, which of the two sides do you land on? Do you side with the former employees and all of the people who are impacted by Enron, which in all seriousness is a lot of people? I'm not poo-pooing it. Or is this First Amendment protected parody, free speech? Where are we?
What you said, Enron was what, 2002?
2001 is when it collapsed. 2004 was Sarbanes-Oxley. Yeah.
So, I mean, how long is it until you can say, like, it's too soon? I mean, it's been over 20 years. Like, they can make a little Enron joke. I think it's funny.
I think it's funny.
I think it's funny. I think it also it pierced the, like, there's all these like funny like crypto launches of like Radio Shack launched a crypto token. I think that's funny, but that one was real. Like this one pierced the like beyond crypto ecosystem. I had friends that thought it was like, before people realized it was a parody, you were like, oh my God, Enron's launching a token. See, that's how stupid crypto is. And I'm like,
joke's on you.
Joke's on you. So look, Enron's collapse affected, hundreds of thousands of people, and people lost their life savings. And there's nothing funny about that, but it is funny that something like this can be relaunched as a crypto token.
What would be?
And it's also an interesting IP kind of angle that someone acquired the trademarks out of bankruptcy or whatever, and here we are, 25 years later, launching a parody Enron. Now, I think it'd be funnier if they actually did it now.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this is a classic example of making, taking chicken shit and making a chicken salad. But when I was reading this, I got to think about what would be the next one. What would be another good defunct company coming out of, rising from the ashes like a phoenix and just taking crypto by storm. I don't know if you could answer that on the fly. I'm just curious. But I think this is great fodder for other content, both on this show and just for crypto in general, especially when people fall for it. I love when people fall for things like this. I really do. Schadenfreude.
It is very funny. Yeah. Now you give me a challenge. I got to think of a company that needs to come back in a hilarious way.
On the next episode, we'll talk about it.
I think it'd be like Standard Oil Company or something. You got to go big, right?
All right. Lightning round time, everybody. Moish, you ready?
Oh, Kyle, I was born ready.
You look ready.
So our first lightning round topic, we have the dog mare competition. So a lighthearted competition for honorary New York City dog mayor was disrupted when cryptocurrency enthusiasts manipulated the voting process in favor of Birdie, an 11-year-old Pomeranian with a big social media following. So this intervention was aimed at inflating the value of a crypto coin named after Birdie, which led to allegations of election fraud and the withdrawal of other contestants. So despite this controversy, Birdie was appointed deputy dog mayor. However, tragically, he passed away suddenly in his sleep shortly thereafter.
Oh, poor Birdie.
That's really sad. Leaving his owner and followers, and surely the cryptocurrency holders, upset following that loss. So Kyle, is this a real story? Did you guys just plant this in our show notes to make fun of me? What's going on here?
No, that was a story in the Times. And yes, that makes it a real story, everybody out there. Sorry. See, this is what crypto should be doing. This is exactly the best use case for crypto that I've ever seen, because you know what? People love their dogs, and Birdie was probably a great boy. And this is a wonderful thing. It kind of encapsulates a lot of things that, have been more serious. You talk about election fraud. We're talking about, rigging elections. But I just think this is hilarious. Moving on, the Texas court has struck down the SEC's infamous dealer rule. A federal judge in Texas has invalidated the United States Securities and Exchange Commission's SEC dealer rule, which sought to broaden the definition of a securities dealer to include certain cryptocurrency entities, such as DeFi liquidity providers. The court determined that the SEC exceeded its statutory authority with this rule, marking a significant victory for the crypto community as a whole and a setback for the SEC's regulatory agenda. Market participants should consider their obligations to register as dealers under prior SEC interpretations and guidance, as well as in light of the court's determination that dealers have customers and provide services to investors. Moish, I know that the crypto community rejoiced in celebration at striking down of this rule. I don't know if you have any color to add to this, but I'm pretty happy about this one finally.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like just another example of all of the kind of SEC imagined rules that don't actually have a basis in application to crypto actually being litigated before a district court judge. And here we go. Hey, it's not a rule anymore. So look, one district court in Texas invalidating the dealer rule. So we'll see how that stands up on appeal or in other circuits. But it certainly seems like the trend is the judges are striking down the SEC's rules.
I mean, federal judge in Texas just last week struck down or enjoined the CTA as well. So they're doing a lot of work down there.
The CTA, like that's I mean, I could talk about that too. The CTA should be struck down.
I agree. It's stupid.
Yeah. Our next lightning round topic, Artifact, the digital fashion brand and collectibles company, which was acquired by Nike in 2021, has announced on Twitter that it will cease operations in January. So before this transition, Artifact planned to release Monolith X and a Blade Drop in December, which is going to push the boundaries of digital fashion and collectibles. However, instead, they shuttered up shop and emphasized that the move signifies an evolution rather than an end, hinting at future developments in the digital fashion space. So, Kyle, despite every other NFT project going to the moon, Nike decides to can Artifact. What do you make of that decision?
Well, I know we sort of made fun of the situation a little bit when we had Professor Lee on our most recent episode. But what's interesting to me is that how can the company emphasize that this move signifies an evolution? Evolution means that you grow and expand and do something new. Shuttering it is not an evolution. That's a death.
Yes, this signifies death.
I'm just adhering to the language as we've all agreed upon using it. I do find the timing of this really odd, as you said. It doesn't make any sense why you would do this right now, even if you were kind of planning on it. Once the election happened and you see this complete sea change with how these assets are being valued and NFTs are on their way back, you can just stick it out for another fiscal quarter, 3 more months. You've come. I know sunk cost fallacy, but come on, 3 more months could have waited.
It makes me think that this decision was just planned a long time ago.
Yeah,
and it was too late to pull it back, and they had already done quarterly budgeting for the next whatever year, and it just was on the chopping block. So I think that's one of the scary things about selling your baby to a big company is, well, they can say, like, I don't want that anymore. Let's kill it.
Yeah. Corporate bureaucracy is no better than government bureaucracy sometimes. Moving right along, Ripple's stablecoin has been approved by New York regulators. New York regulators actually approving something. What are the odds? Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin has been approved by the New York Department of Financial Services, enabling its listing on exchanges and integration with partner platforms. Fully backed by cash and cash equivalents, RLUSD is pegged to the US dollar and will operate on both the Ethereum network and Ripple's XRP ledger. This marks a significant step for Ripple in the regulated stablecoin market, with plans to integrate RLUSD into its digital payment protocol in 2025 to enhance global payment solutions. Man, Ripple, they're just stepping on gold no matter what they do. What do you think, Moish? This is pretty awesome. I know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a huge fan of XRP personally, but I think this is a really great watershed moment of them, winning all their litigation, now getting approved by New York, which is widely considered like the most difficult jurisdiction to get approved, getting a stablecoin approved, and all this in advance of even the next administration coming in. There's a lot of talk about the federal government and the changes that are going to happen with the new administration. There's not a lot of talk about the state level regulators, and obviously they have a lot, especially in New York, they have a lot of sway when it comes to the market and which tokens can and cannot be in the New York market and broader. And so here you're seeing that start to expand. I think that's a positive sign for everyone in the ecosystem.
Agreed. Good job, Ripple.
Our next lightning round topic is a Pennsylvania lawmaker has introduced a strategic Bitcoin reserve bill. So Mike Cabell has introduced a House bill known as the Pennsylvania Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Act, which would authorize the state treasury to invest up to 10% of its funds, potentially amounting to billions of dollars as a hedge against inflation. So this aligns with the broader national trend, like Cynthia Lummis having proposed federal legislation for the federal strategic Bitcoin reserve. And so this appetite, I think, is growing for other states to introduce strategic Bitcoin reserve bills. So Kyle, I mean, what do you think? Is this a trend? Should every state have a strategic Bitcoin reserve?
Well, you've already seen other states start talking about it. I saw this week that last week, Florida is talking about doing something similar in the coming year. Look, it seems like a no-brainer. And once you saw Trump appear at Bitcoin Nashville in 2024 and openly talk about this, and Senator Lummis did the same thing, and she's introduced legislation, it's just a domino and they're all going to start to fall, especially if if this goes through, let's say this goes through in Pennsylvania and it works, which I mean, it seems like it would. I think you're going to see every state and other countries doing the same thing to the extent that they haven't. It's a no-brainer, and I think this is a great move, and it's going to drive the price up.
I'm going to disagree with you here. I think it's a little too chaotic. If every state is separately implementing its own Bitcoin reserve on a separate timeline, you now have 50 states, all with different Bitcoin reserve strategies. They're all fighting for the same, 21 million coins. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. I think this is actually where the Federal Reserve makes a little bit more sense. I mean, I don't know how the state's going to use the Bitcoin. I think it makes more sense for the federal government to do it. But look, I think that's part of the joy of Bitcoin is anyone can decide to buy it. And so if the states want to add it, I guess go for it. I just don't know how, at what level is it like a silly use of government funds, and who should be holding Bitcoin in their treasury? Should it be every country, every state, every local municipality? Like where do you draw the line?
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's like a Bitcoin Royal Rumble amongst state legislatures. That should be fun.
There you go.
All right. And a couple episodes ago, we jokingly talked about who the next enforcement action would land upon. And if you spun the wheel and landed on Cyberkongz, congratulations. Earlier today, Cyberkongz announced on Twitter, quote, "We have been suffering in silence for the last 2 years. Ever since we first received contact from the SEC, throughout the entire process, they have showcased a complete lack of understanding of blockchain technologies that has resulted in unjust accusations and information inaccuracies. Cyberkongz is a project deeply rooted in gaming, and the SEC's Division of Enforcement have approached us with very concerning rhetoric that you cannot have a token in tandem with blockchain gaming without registering it as a security. This discourse would have major implications for the entire Web3 gaming industry, and we will defend against this stance for the wider space." Strong words from Cyberkongz. Moish, when this news came out, we immediately talked about it. What do you think? I was going to ask if you're surprised, but how can you?
No, I mean, if we had our poly market for betting on the next one, I feel like Cyberkongz with their banana token would have been up there. Unfortunately, it just was a very visible, prominent, kind of big money project where 2 years ago, I think people were making just tons of money in bananas, and it was funny. And I guess it got the regulators' attention. But the words here, reading the tweet and processing it is just crazy that for 2 years they've been fighting this. Despite all those efforts, they're still getting a Wells notice. It just has to be so frustrating for them. And to do this, just weeks before the outgoing SEC hands the reins over to a new administration, it makes me really scared for all of the potential Wells notices and presumably lawsuits that are going to be filed before January 20th.
Ugh.
And if that's the case, that's kind of frightening.
Yeah.
And I wonder, Kyle, what's going to happen with suits like these once the calendar to the new administration changes and you have a different SEC sitting on these cases. Are they just going to be like, ha, that's funny, I'm pulling that case back?
Yeah.
Or are they going to be like, well, this is on my desk, I better pursue it vigorously because that's how we do things here.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to predict, obviously, but it's not like all of these cases are going to go away. I mean, we haven't seen the specifics of what's going on with Cyberkongz. It could just be this is their token response, because how else are you going to respond to it? But there are actual cases where people have defrauded investors. I'm not saying Cyberkongz did, so it's not just going to be a clean sweep of everything. But I do think that some of these kind of flimsy ones are going to get shuttered pretty quickly. That's my take.
I don't share your optimism. I know there's a lot of optimism for a new SEC, a new and improved SEC, an SEC that's going to give amazing guidance and do all the things that Commissioner Peirce talked about on our show just a few weeks ago. I'm concerned. Like, look, if that happens, fantastic. That's what we're all rooting for. I'm concerned that the new SEC is going to look a lot like the old SEC, but with like a little bit of window dressing. And if that's the case, and you have like career litigators handed these cases and told to just keep prosecuting them until someone tells you to stop, I'm just concerned that like the gears of the federal government are just going to keep moving these things forward, and there's going to be no incentive to stop them. And like projects like Cyberkongz are just going to get stuck in the middle, having to fight these things for years.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Wow, we've disagreed a couple times on this episode, and I like it. It's good.
That's what we're here for.
That's right,
baby.
That wraps it up for this episode of Block and Order. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Please also follow us on all our socials. Links are down below in the show notes. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, if you have a question or a comment, or if Moish and I are just flat out wrong, please do not be shy. Please let us know. We take constructive criticism very seriously. Please note the show is meant for informational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing that we say is meant to be construed as legal or financial advice. Please hire your own attorney, hire your own advisors, do your own research, not financial advice, all that good stuff. Neither discussion of nor the fact that Moish and I may own any of the assets that we discuss or on his shirt are meant to serve as an endorsement of such assets at all. Very special thank you to producer Abby. Without her, the show would not be possible. So on behalf of Moish Peltz, I'm Kyle Lawrence. Take care, everybody.
See you next time.